AI is evolving fast. Are you ready? Meet AI at FlytBase, your weekly hub to learn, upskill, and stay ahead in AI world. Let's dive into today's session.
This is the session that we are going to conduct today. It is catch real security bugs with Claude Code. Now, you all must have used some type of AI in your coding journey, or even if you're not a developer, you must be using AI for some or the other tasks every day. So I am a developer here. So my experimentation is generally something that can help me make my workflows easier and help me get my tasks done quickly, so I have more time to relax. And yeah, so while working here, the first task actually that I had was kind of solving some of the security bugs that we had in the code base. And I was going through it manually and thinking about how it could be solved or what tools that can be used. But most of the open source tools that I was finding on the market were usually something that runs in your terminal and just finds patterns to your code base. It is not a real solution that you can get remediation on. So most of the time I was finding myself getting the output from these tools, pasting it in AI, like maybe Claude Code or ChatGPT. I was just pasting it there to find out what the issue is. Now, what I realized is that, okay, so these tools gave me an output, but 95% of the output was false positives because it was just looking through patterns. And sometimes in our code base, such patterns are important for the functionality to work, and they might not be security issues. So what I thought was, let's build one step further and leverage Claude Code for this. So I started running all these tools directly through Claude Code, and the output was fed into Claude Code, which understood the context about what these problems are and what all these issues are. So that was working pretty great, but there was still like a lack of workflow that was going through. Like I had to repeat all these tasks again and again to solve each and every bug that I had. So instead, what I thought is creating a workflow that would help me to solve exactly this. And just before I move further, what static tools miss is finding out logical bugs. Like there might be IDOR vulnerabilities. Now, IDOR stands for indirect object reference. That means you're trying to access, for example, I am in an application and I'm trying to access Aryan's data, and I can literally do it with a couple of commands. So that is not a safe code base. So such vulnerabilities are very difficult to catch in non-AI based tools, which are static analysis tools. And AI does a pretty great job at understanding what this is. So these are the type of bugs that you might find. So this is something that might be missed by the human eye as well, because if I am looking through a huge code base and I see such a code, my brain is like, okay, this looks okay, nothing is wrong with it. But as long as I don't understand the context of the code base, or I have been working for a long time on the code base, I don't know what issues there can be. And that is when actually AI helped me a lot. So most of my workflow as a developer is on Claude Code. And I just asked Claude Code that, okay, these are the things in my code base. Do you think something is wrong with it? So rather than just looking at one file, it went through all the files that are connected to that one thing. Maybe if I'm working on a backend service, it goes and sees what front-end services are calling this backend service to understand, okay, no, something is not right over here, or something might break, or some attacker could leverage this to gain control to what they should not. So that is something which I thought, that is where I thought that LLMs could actually help us to solve the issue. And going forward, okay, before I jump to the solution that I built, another problem is that most of the code these days is generated by AI. That is what I do most of the times. Like I generate code by AI, and it is difficult to validate if it has given me a right thing or right solution. Maybe it is easier solution, but it may not be the right solution in the context. So what I did was I combined these two things. So I built a two-layer security tool for myself. And this is something which is not a standalone tool per se. This is something which you can build on your own. And to be completely honest, I used Claude Code to build the entire tool as well to help me analyze its own code. So the first layer that you can see is the static analysis tool. This is what we generally do when we are like building, like we are scanning through our code, the static analysis part usually comes in because it integrates well with our CI pipeline. So you can just push your code to GitHub or GitLab, wherever your code base is, and these tools like scan through it, find out if there are some vulnerabilities, which is okay for a level 1 thing. But I jumped one level, I stepped further. So I added a semantic layer where all these outputs are fed to the Claude Code. And I thought of leveraging Claude Code's capabilities. So I built on top of Claude Code skills. I built on top of the hooks that Claude Code provides. I also created my custom command so that I don't have to manually tell it do all these things. I can just run that command in Claude Code and it will start doing. I'll jump to the demo in some time. So just to give you an overview, this is what I was actually doing, and the combined result actually showed that I was getting much less false positives because Claude Code understood the context of our entire code base. It understood what languages I'm using, what frameworks I'm using, if there is any issue with the package manager or the packages that are downloaded in the code base. And these things are important. And you may think that, okay, GitHub and all of GitLab, all of these enterprise solutions already have their own scanning tools. I understand they do have, and they work pretty great. But my goal was to do it before I push any of the code to a remote repository, because this is where your journey starts as a developer. You first code on your local machine, you test it out, and then you push the code. So before even pushing the code, I wanted a solution that could handle all these things. So so how this works exactly. So this architecture, basically, it sits in your local machine. All you need is a Claude Code subscription, a Max subscription or a Pro subscription. And that's all actually. So just to set it up, I have included a script in it as well, so that all of the skills are copied to my project, whichever I'm working on. And it relies on a few other things as well, which I'll walk you through. So yeah, let's jump to the demo now. So just to give you an overview, this is the project that I have created. Now it may look like a lot of files, but essentially all of this was created using AI because I wanted to build on top of what capabilities Claude Code provides. And we will provide you a zip file to this exact project after this in our group as well. So just to give you an overview, what this does is it has a couple of Claude files and all of the things which helps me set this up. So I'll quickly set it up in a project that I'm actually working on. So I have included a setup script to quickly do all those things. So here, as you can see, this is a task flow API. It is basically for users to authenticate themselves and then create tasks in the system. So it's an Express application, if you can see. And trust me, I did not leave anything behind on this. I did not make it very simple for AI to understand. It's a complex project with all the production ready things that you use. I know it is missing TypeScript, but that was just for a quick creation of a project. So it is an Express API which is based on MongoDB. And I have created this using another agent using ChatGPT Codex, because I wanted to keep this tool as transparent as possible and to see how many things it can catch. And I had told Codex to introduce some vulnerabilities on its own, which are invisible to the human eye. If you walk through the code base, you might not even see that, okay, this may be vulnerable or it may not be vulnerable. So let's see how this thing is set up. I'll just quickly run the setup script over here. So yeah, so let me just extend my terminal. So this is the setup script. It asks you that how do you want to install this? You can have a quick setup which comes only with the static analysis tools and a basic about of the LLM, that it provides the static analysis tools to the LLM. But I would go with the full setup as recommended. So it checks for all the packages that are installed in your system or no. You get an option to install it either globally or in the current project. So I'll just install it in the current project. And no, I don't want to install it globally. Then yeah, I'll come to the Slack notifications later. And okay, proceed with installation. So here it has already done the installation successfully, and it has created a .claude file for me. So this actually contains all of our agents, commands, and skills. I'll walk through it in some time just because this tool takes a little bit of time to actually run on your systems. So here I'm running with the flag dangerously skip permissions because I don't want to keep on like giving permissions, and that will take some time for the demo. So once you have all the skills set up, there is one command here that is sec init. So I'll just run that. What it does is it basically sets up a .security folder. As you may see, it sets up a .security folder in your project. Now, why is this important? So one thing that I realized after working with Claude Code and other coding LLMs is that it loses context after some time. I may have been working on a task like 3 or 4 days back, and if I start working on it again, it has no idea what I'm talking about, or like just overview, and that is when it loses context. So this .security folder actually creates a way for our Claude Code to maintain all the history about what scans it has done, what findings it has, which I'll walk through in a sec. Till the time, I'll just run a security audit on this code base just to show you this in action. So I'll just say sec audit. This is a command which runs a security audit on your code base. Now it has different flags, as you would see. Like it has a full scan that actually scans your entire code base. This is recommended if you are just like initialize this into your project. There is a stage scan, which currently just scans the files that you have staged to push to your remote repository. And the diff is basically scanning everything, not the stage files, but everything that has changed since the last time you have taken a pull from the remote repository. Or you can give it a PR number, so it can just go and see, okay, this is the PR number. I would like to perform a security audit, so I'll just run a full scan on this repository for now. Till the time it runs, I'll just walk you through what agents and what things I have in this. So first of all, if I go to .Claude, I'll just increase the size a bit. So in the agents, you see the sec auditor, you see the sec quality analyst, remediations, and vuln analyst. So all of these agents work in parallel to actually achieve the things that we were talking about. Once you have your outputs from your tools, from different things, so these agents are actually responsible to understand how your code base is, what the context is, and trigger different skills according to it, or maybe like use its own skills to like go through your code base. Then then you see these are the commands that are in this repository. Now I won't walk you through through all the commands, but it's basically I have like created single commands for each of my use cases, and this is something that wasn't built in a day. I took over a week to build the first version. Then I kept iteratively building on it based on what my requirements were, how we were managing our code base, how we were pushing code. So based on that, I worked on it for almost a month now. I'm still actively working on this to make it better, to add better skills. And every day Claude comes up with something new or the other. So trying to integrate that and making this tool like a robust tool for myself. Then in skills, specifically what I have is I have structured it in a way that you get everything out of the box. It's not just a scan on your code base, but even while building new features, when I'm trying to build new feature, I'm conversationally talking with AI to think about how my architecture will be or how my code base will be. These skills just trigger. Like for example, I am talking about, okay, I need to build an authentication API. So this skill will trigger and actually understand, okay, how the like what it needs to do to build a good robust security system. And that is how the skills are structured. So I have like it scans through your packages, it scans through your like environment variables to see if any configuration leaks are there in your code base. Then finally, just walking you through the .security. .security has a reports folder. So this is one of like a good point about this tool is that other tools were generating just raw output. I had to go through that output. I had to like write some script to parse that output to some meaningful things. But now what this tool does is basically once everything runs, it generates reports for me. So now as I can see, the tool has already run, it has already went through the entire code base, to give me what all the things are, and you don't even need to look through what the output is given by Claude. You can just go to reports. It generates it in two formats. So I'll just show you the CSV format first. So here I have the CSV format. So it shows me the vulnerability that it has found. So there are total of 17 vulnerabilities that I can see here, and it shows the criticality. It shows what category this is, or and like what OWASP is basically the security standard that we follow to classify vulnerability. So where it is CWE, and the description of what it is doing to your code base, it understands the context. So this is where LLMs are pretty amazing, that it is understanding the context of how this particular thing is structured and what is the description of this vulnerability, how it's affecting my system, what problems it's causing, and why it needs fixing. So there are the files affected, line numbers, and remediation suggestions. So remediation suggestion is something that I'm working on for the CSV, but it still gives me a remediation agent over here, which I can talk to directly. I can just write it in Claude that, okay, I need to trigger the remediation agent and give me remediation for all these vulnerabilities. It shows you. So there are a couple of fields over here, and it also generates a markdown file to actually show you, like, same thing in a markdown in case you want to send this report to someone. So it flags everything, whatever is there in your code base, and like it generates a clean report about each and every vulnerability and how you can solve it. So this was one of the things, that it maintains this security report. And the goal with this security report is basically to maintain that context over, okay, what things were already done in the past, what things have been fixed. So if I'm using the remediation agent to fix a couple of things in this, it will, like, the next time I run this tool, it will have a context of, okay, these things are already fixed. We don't need to even scan these things. Then it maintains something like the accepted risks. Now this is just an empty file, but what this does is, sometimes when I was actually working on my code base, I found that some of the things are working on legacy systems and they don't need to be changed because it might break the entire system. And that gives me a chance to actually think about how can I change it in the future. But for now, for my code to work, I need to have that in my code base. So I can just add it over here in the accepted risks, that, okay, this is a safe thing, don't scan it again. So it won't waste any tokens to keep on scanning the same things or generating remediation and other things like that. Then the final thing that is there is, I thought that, okay, now I already have this I'm running it on my local. How can I make it more beneficial for the entire team? So there is a way to actually add this to your CI pipeline as well. So if you go back to the tools source code, here in the documentations, I have included examples of GitHub workflow as well as the GitLab workflow. So this can be directly included in your GitHub workflows to basically scan through entire thing. One thing that you may find over here is this will use your Anthropic API to trigger Claude Code, but still it's not going to cost you a lot as much as those enterprise tools cost you. So this is like a good thing that I found. This is something which I would want to use like further, and I am using this tool on a daily basis now. So yeah, that was like an overview of the security tool that I created. And one thing that I missed was I have an integration with Slack. So if I just provide my Slack webhook right now in the configuration that you saw during the setup, whenever any security report is done, whenever a report is generated, it will send me a Slack message that, okay, these are the things, and I have instructed it to flag the critical and high vulnerability. So it just tells me that, okay, you have these many vulnerabilities in Slack, so do something about it. So yeah, I think that was about it.
So we do have a lot of questions coming in. So I'll just go one by one and you can answer it as well. So Juhi has asked, like, I want to understand how we can work on security of whatever app we have built.
Right. So to focus on the security of the applications that you have built, this is, as I mentioned, that I started to work on this tool to scan vulnerabilities that AI has coded and AI has put into my application. But now that I have realized, it is not only limited to like looking through AI vulnerabilities, but it actually found out some things that I had done a couple of weeks back, something that I had worked on, the code that I had written, because what happens is when you're working on a larger code base with multiple teams, you may not know the entire context of the code base and you may miss out on certain critical components. That is where you can research about, like, you can ask Claude only to like go through the code base to give you an understanding, but this tool does prevent from human mistakes as well.
So we do have another question from Anna. So she has asked, everyone says AI reduces noise, but in practice, if I feed a samgraph output into Claude, how do I stop it from hallucinating a fix that break the build? Are you guys using specific verification loop or just a raw prompting to validate that its security suggestions are actually compilable?
That's actually a very good question. The thing is, with any AI tool that you may face, is it hallucinates. It definitely hallucinates, and sometimes it may give you garbage output. But what you need to realize over here is this tool is not a like one-stop solution or like the like end game over here for your security solutions. It's like a remediation strategy, not strategy, I would say. It's like a basic tool that you can put in to just see that, yeah, just to scan through your current code base and what you have done to get a at least basic understanding. Once I am already sitting there as a developer, I see this report, so I know that okay, these are the things that are there in my code base, so I can just go and manually check if it is correct, if it is wrong. I may run it twice or thrice to just so that it can verify itself that yeah, these things are right. So, and I have already provided commands in it for static analysis as well. So if you think that, okay, I don't want to include LLM in this, I just want to see the static analysis outputs, it just gives you a better formatted output from these exact tools like SemGraph, GitLeaks, and Trivi. It has all that functionality. I like, and this is something I did not think of at the first go, but iteratively built on top of it.
So Juhi has a question, how does it handle such a large context when doing a full scan?
Okay, that's a really good question. So when it is doing a full scan, first of all, if it is a big code base, it goes through certain skills that makes it understand that what your code base is. Like, for example, you're working with a monorepo, or is it just an API or just a front-end application? Then it slowly breaks it down into what it needs to do. So right now, the Express API was a simple project, so it did not show off its complete skills. But when I was using it on our code bases, it is instructed to use Claude's sub-agents. So it actually divides your sub-agents into like it batches all your code base, all your like repositories, whatever projects you have inside a monorepo. It just batches all of that to get a context about how it works, and finally, like it gets an idea about architecturally how it is structured. Another thing that it has is it goes through your documentation, because as a developer you mostly maintain documentations in your code base, so it goes through that to understand as much context as possible about how it is structured and where the assets are, where things are kept. And finally, that is where the memory layer comes in. The more you talk to it, the more code you write, the more it scans through your code base, the more context it will maintain in that .security folder. So yeah.
I hope that answers your question. We have another question from Ajit. He has asked, at what point do you stop trusting the AI signals and require the human eye on it? If Claude says webhook is safe, but my static analyzer is flagging it as a high, which one wins in your workflow and why?
Okay, so there is no like it's not 0 or 1. One of them is working, and one of them it's I would say it comes from experience. It comes from experience of what you have been doing, of how you have been handling things. Where LLM helps you, I feel, is it just if your static analysis tool is marking it as critical or high, LLM makes you. It basically makes you understand that okay, why was it marked high? Then it gives you context about where that webhook, as you mentioned in the example, the webhook is used. So you take a call about, okay, was this really a critical vulnerability or was it not? So what I am using the security tool for is basically for myself to understand that do I really need to make changes to my code, or is it okay over there? So as you can see, it did not make any changes in my code base. It just did a scan of all of it, and the remediation agent is something you can keep on talking to back and forth about, okay, is this bad, is this good? And if you feel that okay, this is a acceptable vulnerability, just tell it, it will just add it to your that JSON file and it won't scan it again. But I know where like these things sometimes fall apart is trusting LLM blindly. This is where you have to make the human in the loop thing.
So we have a question from Dipesh that can the model learn organization specific security policies?
When you say organization specific security policies, right now it is designed in a way that it would scan your code base related things. It does not have access to your third party tools. Maybe your configurations or maybe your environment variables are stored in a vault. It does not have access to it right now, but actually that has struck a good point for me that I can connect it to third party tools in a safe way, obviously, to get more context about how my organization is structured. We as an organization, we maintain a lot of our architecture in the documents folder in our code base. So that is enough for the AI to understand. And one thing that I would suggest here is, because we are moving in a world where AI is understanding our code bases and writing, I won't say most of, but a lot of our code. So it needs good documentation. So we as humans, it is our responsibility to maintain an up-to-date documentation about our code base and what features or what software we are working on. That is something that I feel.
Okay. So Julie has asked another question, but you do shift away from documentation many times while working. So how does it handle code implementation versus documentation gap?
So yeah, that is the thing I discussed earlier, that it is our responsibility to maintain documentation up to date. But one thing that I have understood these days in Claude Code specifically, because that is one reason I am very fixated on using Claude Code, is that even if my documentation is drifting apart, it just goes through my commit history to understand when this documentation was updated last, even without instructing it to do that. It just understands that, okay, if this is a old documentation or stale documentation, it will try to understand the code base. When was this code base updated, by whom it was updated. It just goes through my Git history automatically and tries to figure out which is the latest version and what we can work on in that particular version. I think, I'm not sure if that was your question, but yeah.
If that doesn't answer the question, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question. It's completely on you. No issues. We have another question from Vinay. Is vulnerability detection purely static, or do you also correlate findings with routine or traffic data?
So this particular tool focuses on your analysis of your static, like the output that you get from your static tools, and it's basically powering your static tools with the context of your code base and getting a remediation solution close to what a real security analyst would do on your code base. It's like a code security thing, not a runtime or maybe monitoring your logs or something like that, because we already have existing tools, established enterprise tools over there. And my goal was to build something which comes way before even my code goes into the infra that I have.
So we have a question from Nikhil that research shows that while AI is getting better at syntax, it's actually getting worse at architectural security. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a great question. And I feel that this is something that I truly believe in, that for architectural decisions, I think we still need to rely on some human experience, because AI still does not have context about how complex your code base is or how your things are structured externally. Maybe you're just working in one repo, but this repo is dependent on some different repos or some other service which you don't even have access to. So this is where I feel we have a limitation on how much we can extend AI, but it's good for something which I feel, in one line, the thing that used to take you a week, now you can do that in a day with enough context, and giving it enough context, providing enough instructions to it. Yeah.
So the last question from Dhruv, if I am not spelling it right, please, sorry. Have you explicitly instructed to manage context in scales, etc., or are you relying on Claude context management as a batching comes out of the box?
Oh, that's a good question. So first of all, there is no explicit instruction on how to manage context in the skills. So most of the times I also go through experiences where it is going through conversation compacting and everything, but I tried to manage it through the MCPs, and I have included some MCPs in the tool where it is triggering an MCP the moment it realizes that, okay, it might want to save something important. This is basically how RAG systems are working. I won't say it's a RAG exactly, but it is like built on top of that philosophy. And this is something I would like to extend on, work on the memory layer a little more, because I think that is where the true value of any AI based tool is.